Loyd-Holmes. Welcome to FrightFest.
Thank you.
You're here with Extinction, which used to be called the Expedition.
Yes, it did, yeah.
So my first question is obviously, why the name change?
Well, the name Extinction was one we actually came up with during the whole creative process. But when you're making a dinosaur film, a lot of people think you're not going to be able to do it. And there's a lot of doubt whether you can make something like that without a couple of $100 million in the bank. So as a producer, I decided to not tell anyone we were making a dinosaur movie. So we sort of put Extinction to the side and didn't tell anyone. And of course, when it came to the reveal, we were showing people, the distributor said, we love it and we want to do this, but could we change the name? So we thought, well, the Expedition was good for while we were creating the movie and making the movie, but Extinction was something that reflected probably more what the film was about, so we sort of went back to that.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit about what the film is about? It's about an expedition to the Amazon.
That's correct,
and it's found footage or documentary in style.
Exactly, that's exactly it. So the film is essentially a team of researchers go to the Amazon on an expedition to study endangered and vulnerable species, and themselves become on the endangered list when they discover dinosaurs roaming around the Amazon, living and breathing. So it's kind of an adventure film, and yeah, we did shoot in the sort of found footage documentary style, but we tried to not do what a lot of found footage movies do. That's have shaking cameras all the time and that sort of thing. And part of that is because we wanted to do something maybe a little better, but also our character is a cameraman. So our actual character who's holding the camera is a professional cameraman. So he's looking for more beautiful shots, and he's looking for that perfect frame. But every now and again he does have to run away from a dinosaur, so it does get a bit shaky every now and again.
So you're the writer, producer, and star of the film.
Yeah.
From the writing side, what's the biggest challenge in writing a found footage or documentary film?
I think the biggest challenge in writing a film like Extinction is being the found footage documentary style. You're always looking to try and find a way to have that help the story and help the audience become more involved. There's a scene in the film, which is actually in the trailer, where the camera reveals a dinosaur and then it falls to the floor, and you have this wonderful shot that takes place where three cast members are on screen, and we've seen the dinosaur, but then we can't see it at this point, and it's coming in. And as found footage, what that does is it allows you to just hear the threat of this thing coming towards you, which in a traditional sort of cinematically shot film, you wouldn't necessarily be able to do. And although that may be something that you could think about as more of a shot listing thing, it's actually as part of the writing process, you're thinking, how can we have this medium make the film better? So it's I guess looking for opportunity. That's kind of how it helped.
You mentioned your cameraman is one of the main characters in the film. Who are some of the other main characters?
So obviously we have the cameraman, and he's actually on the expedition to shoot this journalist who's played by Sarah Mack. She's a journalist who's maybe punching above her weight a little bit. She's probably a daytime shopping channel TV sort of character normally, and she's got a chance to do something a bit more weighty and a bit more serious, and she's jumped at this chance, but she's also a bit out of her depth. So they're filming the research team, and the research team is made up of Professor John Howson, which is myself, who's a South African sort of game warden type character, grown up in the bush and become a zoologist. And then there's his right-hand man, which is Rob, who's played by Neil Newbon, who's again a sort of Sabka scout type, former military tracker type. And those two really are the stronger part of the group, and then beneath them are their researchers and their scientists, and they make up the main bulk of the team. In addition to that, we've got a couple of guides who's played by Dolores Reynals and Ernesto Cantu. So that's kind of the palette that we've got, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you mentioned Professor John Howson.
Yeah.
Did you write the character for yourself?
No, not at all. I mean, I'm sort of quite against that sort of thing, really. I think a lot of people write things for themselves, whereas I sort of try to write a good character, and I was lucky enough that Adam said, you should play this character, you'd be quite good at him. And then, of course, you can rewrite bits to make me think how you could play that. But I try not to write myself into something, or to produce something that I would necessarily be good at, or try to be good at, because I think it sort of compromises the film a little bit. I think it's much better if you can just write good characters and write an interesting film. And if you can work out a conversation where there's a chance for you to play someone interesting within that, then it's it can be great. And I was lucky this time. Adam wanted me to be Howson because he's a fun character.
Was he South African right from the word go, or did you develop the accent as part of the role?
I felt that Howson needed to be of African descent, and I felt that because I think it's much more interesting to have someone who's grown up in the wild, as it were, who's grown up around big game, to play a sort of a research scientist who's comfortable in the field. Because of course, a research scientist can come from anywhere, but I think to have someone who had that weight about him in the way he spoke and in the way he acted, for some reason it just felt more truthful if he was from sort of South Africa. And that was something I think that was interesting from the word go. And then we were building the rest of the tapestry. We had obviously an American in there and some Brits and a South African and some South Americans, and it just actually felt like a much more interesting canvas from which to start from, rather than here's a bunch of guys from England off doing this, or here's a bunch of guys from America, or here's a bunch of guys from anywhere. It was sort of much more interesting that they were a more multinational team.
That was very interesting. Where did you shoot the film? Was it actually shot in the Amazon?
No, no. Shooting on location is hard enough as it is. We shot a bit in Mauritius, shot a bit in south of France, shot a bit in the United Kingdom, and a lot of it was finding a wonderful location that would work as the Amazon, because again, that it's going to be hard when you're out there, and if you're 5 miles from safety, if there's a problem, that's bad enough, and if you're 10 miles, that's pretty bad. But suddenly if you're 100 miles from safety, then it makes making a film where there's a lot of action, and there's people running around and doing some quite dangerous things. We're in the water, we're up the cliffs. It makes that too hard to do from a safety point of view. So we chose locations that were in countries that we could have reasonable access to sort of good infrastructure should something go wrong, which thankfully it didn't.
And how did you do the dinosaurs practically? Because that was quite an interesting part of the film.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, doing them practically was something I wanted to do from the word go, and actually that was what made me decide to make the film. So I think I always wanted to make sort of an expedition type movie, and maybe finding dinosaurs in the Amazon would be wonderful to make a film like that. But what was holding me back the whole time was, how do you do it? How do you make a film and show these dinosaurs in a real way? And it was looking at how they did some of the raptors for Jurassic Park, and how you could make a man in a suit actually work. And I looked at the Walking with Dinosaurs stage show, and like I said, things like Jurassic Park, and thought, okay, so there is a way to make a suit come to life. So how can we do that? So we spoke to a lot of designers about trying to make the external part of the suit work with the internal mechanics. And eventually found a way to do it. So we came up with the designs and got it built. And in addition to that, we do have some CG. But having the actual physical creatures on set means that you have such a wonderful, again, starting point to do something with. That what you bring to the screen, I think, is a little bit more truthful and is a little bit more exciting maybe. And I think for the cast, it makes a big difference, because we never showed them the dinosaur until their first day on set with the dinosaur. So they'd done about a week already, and then it was a night shoot, and they came on set, and then just slightly silhouetted in the darkness was this huge beast, and they were all really intimidated by it. And it's actually the scene where the dinosaur starts pushing up against the tent, and what that gave them just as performers, even in that moment, was actually was really quite special. And I think that's one scene, but then in the others, when you got them interacting with it, and it's this big predatory beast bearing down on them, gave them a lot more to work with than just it's over there somewhere, guys.
You also had some real animals on set. You had some real snakes, a spider, and even a scorpion.
Yeah.
Were they fun to work with?
Yeah. So never worked with animals. Actually, we had this incredible animal wrangler who who absolutely loves his creatures, and he was very good at teaching us how to work with them. I think for me, the scariest bit was the scorpion, because a snake, you sort of think you know what the snake's doing, and and the crocodiles and stuff, and the spider. But a scorpion just does look like it wants to get you, no matter what you do. And of course, you'll notice it's mainly me that picks them up, because I was
Yes.
thinking producers like, I'll do it, you know. If someone's getting bitten, it's going to be me. But also Howson's supposed to be this leader of this group, so he's supposed to be this confident guy. And I remember picking up the scorpion, David said, the handler said, just come and scoop it up. And I thought, yeah, okay, sure. And I tried to do it, and the scorpion just sort of went, yeah. It sort of turned and looked at me, I was like, oh God. It took 3 or 4 goes, but it's really intimidating, but also, again, it adds that authenticity. And funny enough, we had rubber scorpions to do it with. He's like, no, you can do it for real. I was like, oh my God, sure, okay, fine. But it did make it, I think, a bit more authentic.
Yeah, but the snakes were not venomous.
No.
But the scorpion, of course,
yes,
is quite
yeah. I mean, it certainly would have caused a lot of pain and probably a bit of swelling. But the snakes weren't dangerous. There was a part of me, actually, the very large snake, the big constrictor. There was a very small part of me that wanted it to go for me, because I just thought, wouldn't that be great on camera? It would cut very quickly, but still, it would have been lovely. This lovely moment, to sort of add a bit of production value. But yeah, it was good.
So when's Extinction out?
So with our wonderful distributor, High Flyers, and us, we're just working out the release strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So we're either going to be November time or March. So we're going to be sort of in that window. We're just trying to work out what the best time is, obviously to get the most impact for the film. But it's certainly within the next few months, which is very, very exciting, because we obviously had a great reaction here today, and I'm really keen to see what everyone else thinks about it.
Sure. And finally, what are you working on next?
Really pleased to say I got a couple of great projects in the pipeline. Some are less serious than others. One's very, very fun. But first up, I think we've got a thing called Dark Water, which is a shark movie, which is really exciting. And then we've got a film called Kill Time, which is an assassin movie, which is a little bit collateral, and a little bit of a few other flavours in there, which I don't want to say too much about, because it's kind of cool.
No tornadoes in the shark movie?
There's no tornadoes. I came up with a great idea for one of those movies today, but it's not really my sort of film to make. I think I'm too much of a sword of Damocles guy, like, no, it's got to be better, rather than like, yeah, let's just put a tornado in it, that'd be fun. I think I'd get too serious about it.
Okay. Thanks, Ben.
My pleasure, thank you very much.